When a billionaire jokingly invited the quiet dishwasher to join a negotiation, he didn't expect her to actually show up or to expose an international crime ring with just a few words. But what shocked him most was her past. Within the gleaming, award-winning Ember and Oak restaurant, a jewel in the Dalamont culinary scene, Aria Vale was a ghost in the machine. Amidst the symphony of sizzling pans, the cheerful shouts of the chefs, and the polite requests of the waitstaff, she moved with a quiet efficiency. Her hands, perpetually damp and softened by soap, worked tirelessly, transforming mountains of dirty dishes back into pristine tableware. She preferred the anonymity of her task, the predictable rhythm of the work, a comforting contrast to a life she desperately tried to forget. Her smile was a fleeting, gentle thing, offered mostly to the chipped teacups she carefully dried. Yet, despite her efforts to remain invisible, her quiet diligence had caught the eye of the one man who saw everything. Nathan Creed was a force of nature, his presence radiating the confidence that came with immense wealth and the power to shape entire industries. He moved through his flagship restaurant, Ember and Oak, with an air of ownership that permeated every corner, from the meticulously arranged wine cellar to the gleaming stainless steel of the kitchen. He was accustomed to having his opinions not only heard but instantly acted upon. Control was his comfort zone, and he ran his empire, the Ember chain of restaurants, with an unwavering demand for perfection, pushing his staff to meet the impossibly high standards he set for himself. The air in the private meeting room was thick with tension. Investors, their faces etched with concern, leaned over thick documents while Nathan Creed, ever the showman, leaned back in his chair, a picture of relaxed authority. The negotiations had hit a snag, a particularly complex clause proving difficult to navigate. It was in this moment, perhaps fueled by a touch of arrogance and a desire to break the tension, that Nathan's gaze drifted towards the doorway, where Aria was unobtrusively collecting empty coffee cups. A playful, almost condescending smile touched his lips. "You there," he called out, his voice carrying across the hushed room. "Dishwasher, perhaps you'd like to join our little powwow, offer some sudsy insight into these financial intricacies." A wave of laughter rippled through the room, a release of nervous energy at the billionaire's unexpected humor. Everyone chuckled, the investors, the lawyers, even Nathan's usually stoic chief financial officer. Everyone, that is, except Aria. The laughter in the room died down as all eyes turned to the figure in the doorway. Aria Vale, her face betraying no emotion, calmly placed the stack of cups on her trolley. With deliberate movements she reached for a clean towel, meticulously drying her hands. Then she pulled off her rubber gloves, the soft snap echoing in the sudden silence. Without a word she walked towards the imposing mahogany table, her steps measured and steady. Reaching the table she met Nathan's surprised gaze for a fleeting moment before turning to the empty chair beside him. "Gladly," she said, her voice clear and even, devoid of any hint of nervousness, and then, to the astonishment of everyone present, she sat down. An almost palpable wave of shock washed over the room. The seasoned investors exchanged bewildered glances. The high-powered legal team shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The clinking of ice in a forgotten glass seemed deafening in the sudden vacuum of sound. Aria's gaze, sharp and focused, moved across the intricate lines of the contract laid out before her. Her brow furrowed slightly in concentration, but there was no amusement in her eyes, no trace of the dishwasher who had just moments ago been unseen and unheard. Her finger, still slightly damp from her work, landed on a specific paragraph. Her voice, when she spoke, was quiet but carried an undeniable weight. "This clause," she stated, her tone matter of fact, "it's not standard legal language. It's coded. This isn't a genuine partnership agreement. It's a meticulously crafted funnel for laundering money." A collective gasp swept through the room. Several investors, their faces turning a shade of pale, began to sputter in disbelief. Accusations of incompetence and fraud hung unspoken in the air. Nathan, his initial amusement completely vanished, leaned forward, his eyes narrowed into slits. The playful glint had been replaced by a sharp, assessing intensity. "How in God's name would you know that?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Aria met his piercing gaze without flinching, her own eyes unwavering. "Because," she replied, her voice calm and steady, "I've seen it before." The revelation hung heavy in the air. The investors, their earlier bluster turning into panicked whispers, hastily gathered their belongings and stormed out of the boardroom, their lucrative deal dissolving before their eyes. Nathan, his face a mask of conflicting emotions, dismissed the remaining staff with a curt nod. Soon only he and Aria remained in the large, silent room. The discarded contracts scattered across the polished table like fallen leaves. He stood, his hands clasped behind his back, and finally broke the silence. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. Arya rose, her gaze sweeping over the now empty chairs. "Just someone who washes dishes," she replied simply, a hint of something unreadable in her eyes. For now. That night, sleep eluded Nathan. The image of the quiet dishwasher, so unexpectedly insightful, replayed in his mind. He found himself drawn to the mystery she presented. Unable to shake his curiosity, he accessed Arya's personnel file. It was surprisingly sparse, a thin folder containing only the most basic information. There were no references listed, no record of past employment beyond a few short-term, unremarkable positions. The only unusual detail was a handwritten note attached to the front. "Hired under special discretion." The note only deepened the enigma surrounding Arya, fueling Nathan's growing suspicion that there was far more to her than met the eye. The next morning, Nathan found Arya in the bustling but organized chaos of the restaurant's main pantry. Surrounded by shelves stacked high with dry goods, he approached her, his usual commanding presence filling the small space. He didn't mince words. "What are you hiding, Arya?" he asked, his voice direct and demanding. Arya, without stopping her task of organizing spice jars, turned to face him, her expression calm and composed. "Not hiding anything, Mr. Creed," she replied, her voice even. "Just surviving." Her words, though simple, carried a weight that hinted at a difficult past, further piquing Nathan's interest. Arya reached into the pocket of her apron and pulled out a small, unassuming flash drive. She held it out to Nathan, her gaze steady. "Everything you need to know is on here," she said, her voice low and serious. "But be warned, Mr. Creed. Once you open it, there's no turning back." The weight of the small device in his hand felt significant, a tangible representation of the secrets Arya held. Back in the hushed privacy of his expansive office, Nathan carefully inserted the flash drive into his computer. The screen flickered to life, revealing a trove of digital files. He clicked through documents, scanned photographs, and listened to audio recordings, each piece of data painting a vivid picture of Arya's life before Dalamont. He saw images of a vibrant culinary school in Florence, bustling with students eager to learn the art of Italian cooking. He saw photos of a smiling, confident Arya, a renowned chef in her own right. And then the recordings began, revealing a story of betrayal and loss, of a whistleblower who had paid a heavy price for speaking the truth. The files on the flash drive laid bare a devastating betrayal. Arya's husband, Marco, who was also her trusted business partner in their successful culinary school, had been secretly laundering money for a dangerous cartel. When Arya discovered his illegal activities, her world shattered. Driven by her strong sense of justice, she had gathered evidence and gone to the authorities. But Marco, a master manipulator, had anticipated her move. He had twisted the narrative, framing Arya as the culprit, leaving her with no choice but to flee before the police arrived. Under the shadow of false accusations, Arya had escaped Italy, leaving behind her life and her reputation. She had arrived in Dalamont with nothing but the clothes on her back and a new name, hoping to disappear into the anonymity of a large city. She took on odd jobs, cleaning houses and working in various kitchens, always keeping a low profile. Eventually, she applied for a dishwashing position at Ember and Oak, a place where her quiet demeanor and lack of references raised no red flags. She had intended to remain invisible, to simply survive, until Nathan's unexpected joking invitation had inadvertently pulled her back into the light. Nathan leaned back in his leather chair, the glow of the computer screen illuminating his conflicted face. On one hand, Arya had undeniably exposed his potential business partners as criminals, saving his company from a potentially devastating entanglement. He owed her a debt of gratitude. On the other hand, she had presented herself as a simple dishwasher, a deliberate act of omission that felt like a lie. Or was it, had she truly lied, or had she simply chosen to remain silent about a past that was clearly painful and dangerous? Nathan wrestled with the ethical implications, unsure how to reconcile Arya's actions with his own sense of right and wrong. The carefully constructed facade of Dalamont's elite was shattered when news of a major international smuggling ring broke. The story, fueled by an anonymous tip, quickly spread like wildfire across news channels and social media. Nathan knew with a certainty that settled deep in his gut that Arya was the source of the information. While Ember and Oak had narrowly avoided becoming a pawn in the criminal enterprise, the restaurant was now under intense media scrutiny, its name linked to the scandal. The fallout from the scandal was swift and brutal. The Ember and Oak Board of Directors, their faces grim, convened an emergency meeting. They laid the blame squarely at Nathan's feet, questioning his judgment and leadership for even considering a partnership with such disreputable individuals. Investors, spooked by the negative publicity, began to pull out, sending shockwaves through the company's financial stability. Rumors about the mysterious dishwasher who had exposed the ring started to surface in the tabloids, adding fuel to the already raging fire. Sensing the shift in the atmosphere, the whispers and the pointed glances, Arya knew it was time to disappear again. The quiet life she had painstakingly built was once again under threat. "This isn't my war," she muttered to herself as she folded her few belongings, the familiar urge to vanish rising within her. But just as she was about to slip away into the anonymity of the city, a knock echoed on her small apartment door. Standing on the threshold was Nathan Creed. Nathan stood in the doorway, his usual commanding air softened by a look of genuine curiosity. He didn't try to block her exit, didn't issue any orders. "Arya," he began, his voice surprisingly gentle, "I don't want to control you. That's not why I'm here. I want to understand you, your past, your insight. Maybe I could even learn from you." His words were a far cry from the arrogant billionaire who had jokingly invited her to a negotiation just days before. Over steaming mugs of bitter black coffee in a quiet corner of a local cafe, Arya finally opened up to Nathan. She recounted her life in Florence, the joy of building her culinary school, the devastating betrayal by her husband, and the wrenching decision to leave behind her young daughter, Livia, to protect her. "Everything I ever built was taken from me," she confessed, her voice thick with emotion, "but I never stopped fighting. I just had to fight differently." Nathan, deeply moved by Arya's story and impressed by her resilience, offered her a position within his company. It wasn't a handout, not a gesture of charity. He proposed she become an advisor on a newly formed business ethics board, her sharp eye and unwavering moral compass a vital asset. Arya, surprised by the offer, initially refused. The scars of her past made her wary of trusting anyone in a position of power. A few days later, a thin envelope arrived for Arya. The handwriting on the front was familiar, sending a jolt of longing through her. It was from Livia, her daughter, now 17 years old. The letter was simple but powerful. "I saw the news. I know it's you, Mama. I'm so proud of you." Tears streamed down Arya's face as she clutched the letter to her heart, the words a balm to years of unspoken grief. Inspired by Arya's courage, and driven by a newfound commitment to ethical practices, Nathan launched a thorough internal investigation into his entire business empire. He meticulously reviewed every contract, scrutinized every partnership, and examined the records of every employee. What he found was a disturbing undercurrent of corruption, a network of shady dealings that had been operating beneath his notice. The rot was deep and ugly, and Nathan knew it had to be eradicated completely. The investigation unearthed a particularly painful truth. Nathan's estranged wife, Tessa, from whom he was in the midst of a bitter divorce, had secretly been facilitating deals with the very partners Arya had exposed. Tessa, driven by greed and resentment, had been working against him, further complicating the already messy situation. Their divorce, already acrimonious, escalated into a full-blown legal war. With a quiet confidence that belied her past as a dishwasher, Arya stepped back into Nathan's world, this time as a trusted ally. She possessed an uncanny ability to dissect complex documents, her sharp mind identifying inconsistencies and hidden agendas with remarkable ease. "Dishwashing teaches you to pay attention to the details," she'd wink, a rare smile gracing her lips. Her insights proved invaluable as Nathan prepared his case against Tessa and the corrupt elements within his company. The courtroom was charged with tension as Nathan and Arya sat across from a composed but clearly agitated Tessa. Arya's testimony was delivered with unwavering conviction, her detailed recollections and sharp observations dismantling Tessa's carefully constructed lies. The evidence Arya presented was irrefutable, leading to Tessa's indictment on multiple charges. Nathan, finally free from his wife's treachery and with the corrupt elements within his company exposed, regained full control of his empire. In a gesture of gratitude and newfound friendship, Nathan hosted a private dinner at Ember and Oak. He and Arya worked side by side in the kitchen, the atmosphere filled with laughter and the comforting aroma of Italian cooking. The menu was a carefully curated selection of dishes from Arya's beloved culinary school in Florence, a symbolic reclaiming of her past. For the first time in years, Arya stood before a crowd, a microphone in her hand. The spotlight illuminated her face, no longer shadowed by fear. "I'm not here tonight because of what I lost," she said, her voice strong and clear, resonating with the power of resilience. "I'm here because of what I rebuilt." The room erupted in applause, a testament to her incredible journey. One evening, as the dinner service was winding down at Ember and Oak, the restaurant door opened, and a young woman stood hesitantly on the threshold. Her eyes scanned the room until they locked with Arya's. "I want to cook," Livia said, her voice filled with a mix of nervousness and determination. Arya rushed forward, embracing her daughter in a hug that held years of longing and unspoken love. Ember and Oak underwent a transformation, reflecting the changes that had occurred within its walls. The restaurant launched a new concept called the Reclaimed Kitchen, a menu that not only featured exquisite dishes but also shared the inspiring stories of staff members who had overcome adversity and rebuilt their lives. Nathan's vision for his restaurant chain expanded beyond mere profit. He transformed Ember into a place that offered second chances, actively hiring individuals from marginalized communities, ex-convicts, refugees, single parents, anyone who needed an opportunity to rebuild their lives. Arya took on a leading role in this initiative, her own experiences guiding the way. The transformation of the Ember chain wasn't met with universal approval. Some investors, focused solely on profit margins, questioned Nathan's new direction. During board meetings, concerns were raised about the impact on the company's bottom line. Nathan, however, stood firm. "This isn't charity," he asserted, his voice resonating with conviction. "It's about rebuilding value, yes, but with integrity, investing in people, giving them a chance to succeed that builds a stronger foundation for everyone in the long run." In the small, previously underutilized staff lounge of Ember and Oak, Arya began her first cooking class. A spark had returned to her eyes, a familiar passion rekindled. Her students were a diverse group, a young dishwasher eager to learn more than just scrubbing plates, a shy busboy with dreams of becoming a chef, a single mother hoping to provide a better future for her children, and a recovering addict seeking a fresh start. Arya patiently guided them through the basics, sharing not just recipes but also the joy and discipline of the culinary arts. Late one night, after the last diners had left and the restaurant had quieted, Arya found herself alone in the dimly lit kitchen. The familiar scent of cleaning supplies and lingering food triggered a rush of painful memories. She saw the flames engulfing her beloved school in Florence, heard the venom in her husband's voice as he screamed accusations. She began to tremble, the past threatening to overwhelm her. Just then, Nathan appeared, his presence a comforting anchor in the darkness. He gently took her hand. "You're safe now, Arya," he whispered, his voice filled with genuine care. A few weeks later, Nathan approached Arya with an idea. "I want to do more," he said, his gaze earnest. "I want to build a training institute, something that can provide real opportunities for underprivileged youth, giving them the skills they need to succeed." He paused, then added, a touch of emotion in his voice, "And I want to put your name on it, Arya. The Vale Institute, what do you think?" A local journalist, intrigued by the story of the quiet dishwasher who had exposed a crime ring and inspired a billionaire, wrote an article titled "The Dishwasher Who Changed a Billionaire." The piece went viral, attracting national attention, while Arya politely declined interview requests, preferring to focus on her work. The positive publicity brought a new wave of customers to Ember and Oak, eager to support a business with such a compelling story. Tears welled up in Arya's eyes as Livia proudly presented her first fully executed dish, a perfectly seared scallop with a delicate lemon butter sauce. The flavors were exquisite, a testament to Livia's natural talent and the guidance she had received. "You were always meant for more than just running," her daughter said, a proud smile on her face, echoing a sentiment Arya herself had often felt. Despite his transformation, Nathan still occasionally wrestled with his ingrained need to be in control. During a busy service, he began micromanaging the kitchen staff, his old habits resurfacing. Arya, witnessing his behavior calmly but firmly, called him out in front of everyone. "Nathan," she said, her voice carrying across the bustling kitchen, "lead, don't command. Trust the people you've empowered." Her words resonated with the staff and served as a gentle but necessary reminder for Nathan. One afternoon, a familiar face appeared at Ember and Oak. It was an old friend from Florence, someone Arya hadn't seen in years. He had sought her out with important news. "They cleared your name, Arya," he announced, a warm smile on his face. "The truth about Marco finally came out. You can go home, you're no longer a fugitive. Arya stared at her passport, the small booklet feeling heavy in her hand. The thought of returning to Florence, to the life she had once known, was tempting. But she looked around at the bustling restaurant, at Livia working confidently in the kitchen, at Nathan's steady presence. This city, this unlikely journey had given her a second chance, a new purpose. "I'm not walking away from it," she said quietly, a sense of resolve settling within her. One stormy night, as rain lashed against the windows of his office, Nathan confided in Arya. "I didn't believe in people before you," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "Just results, just numbers. I was wrong. You showed me the true value of human potential." The grand ballroom of a prestigious hotel buzzed with excitement. Arya and Nathan co-hosted a charity auction to raise funds for the Vale Institute. The guest list was a testament to their impact. Celebrities, renowned chefs, social activists, and of course, Livia, radiant and confident in her element. Just as the auction was reaching its peak, a bitter ex-business partner of Nathan's, still harboring resentment, attempted to sabotage the event by spreading false rumors. Arya, ever vigilant, intercepted him. Her voice was calm but firm, her gaze unwavering. "I faced worse than you with nothing but soap and a broken heart," she stated, her quiet strength silencing his malicious attempts. The auction exceeded all expectations, raising a significant sum for the new institute. But the true measure of its success came in the quiet moments. A woman in the crowd, her eyes filled with emotion, whispered to her companion, "I used to be her, until someone believed in me." Arya's story had become a beacon of hope for others seeking a second chance. As a soft jazz melody filled the ballroom, Nathan extended his hand to Arya. They moved together in a slow, silent dance, their steps in perfect harmony. It wasn't the dance of lovers, not yet, but of equals who had faced adversity and emerged stronger, their bond forged in resilience and mutual respect. Arya finally sat down and penned a heartfelt letter to the administrators of her former culinary school in Florence. She wrote of her journey, her trials, and her triumphs. "I am no longer a fugitive of failure," she wrote, her words filled with a quiet pride. "I am a curator of hope." On the rooftop garden of ember and oak, under a canopy of stars, Nathan turned to Arya, his eyes filled with a love that had grown slowly but surely. "Stay," he said, his voice soft but earnest. "Not just for the business, not just for the mission. Stay, for me." A warm smile spread across Arya's face, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "I already stayed, Nathan," she replied, her voice filled with affection. "I'm just glad you finally caught up." Donning matching aprons, Arya and Nathan stood side by side, cutting the ribbon to officially open the second stirring, the new training institute for underprivileged youth. The motto, emblazoned above the entrance, read, "Burned but not broken." Each graduate who walked through the doors of the second stirring carried a piece of Arya's story within their own journey. From dishwasher to director, from silence to voice, from survivor to teacher, her life was a testament to the power of resilience and the transformative impact of belief. As the camera slowly pans out from the warm, inviting glow of the restaurant windows, the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses fading into the quiet night, a voiceover speaks with gentle wisdom. Sometimes the strongest leaders aren't the ones at the head of the table. They're the ones washing dishes, waiting patiently for the moment someone finally listens. If you enjoyed this journey of redemption, resilience, and transformation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that celebrate the strength found in the most unexpected places.